Hey everybody, Matt Galogli here with SRP Medical Marketing and the Warner James Group. And today, what I want to talk to you about on this Monday, and this is really just something that I want you to think about on this Monday and as every single Monday, each and every single week. Well, let me back up a second. I'm going to show you very easily how to double your practice revenues in the next 60 days, if that. Okay, I'm going to show you a little tool that we use. Everybody always asks, well, how do you turn things around? And what I'm going to do is in a little bit, I'm going to tell you a quick little story about how I've really just kind of created this career as a turnaround expert of how I can take failing businesses and make them profitable in a very short amount of time. And so I'm going to share that with you today. And, we're always looking for just a few select practices to work with to help double their revenues. Quite frankly, many times we'll double their revenues in a 30 to 60-day window, and then we can double them again in another 60-day window once we get a few things kind of hammered out. And today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a very simple foundation that you can use to double your revenues in the next 30 to 60 days. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here, okay? So what I want you, this is gonna require a lot of really big time technical work. It's not gonna actually at all, it's gonna take some very simple work. So what I want you to do is, there's a couple of numbers that you need to know. And if you understand these numbers and you monitor those numbers every single day, they are like the vitals of a sick patient, okay? So if you're working the rounds in a hospital and you have a sick patient that is in, and you're going to be monitoring, let's say they're dealing with high blood pressure, well, then you're going to monitor their blood pressure daily. It's going to be monitored a couple of times a day, if not constantly. And what you're going to do is you're going to be looking at that along with a couple of other key indicating numbers, or as we like to call them, key performance indicators. Well, you're going to do the exact same thing in your business. This is really, really simple, and this is how we've been able to turn around not only medical practices, but business after business, and I've done this in 30 niches, and this works in every single case. Every single case. In fact, I use this in my own business when I want to grow my own business, okay? So let me tell you where this came from. So when I was in the golf business, way back when I used to work for Marriott, and then I left Marriott and I went to a startup. And this company used to manage and buy and build, in some cases build, but we used to manage and buy existing golf courses. And so I created this little process by which I could turn around a golf course very, very fast. And so I was running a club in Princeton, New Jersey called Princeton Meadows Golf Club. And Princeton Meadows Golf Club was a small semi-private club right near Princeton, New Jersey. It wasn't that great of a golf course. It was kind of a short golf course in between some apartment complexes and things like that. But what was really cool is it was losing $250,000 a year. Yep. It's losing $250,000 a year on $1.25 million a year in revenue. Okay. And what we were able to do is we were to take that $250,000 loss, and we were able to turn that into a $225,000 a year profit. So we were just shy of a $500,000 swing, and all we did was increase revenues by $250,000. Okay, now we didn't do any great cost cutting programs. Really what we did is we didn't generate any more patients or any more clients. We basically had the same number of clients. And what we were able to do is we were able to orchestrate this massive turnaround while improving the condition of the golf course. Okay, so what did we do? I taught my staff to focus on one number and one number alone. And that number was the one number that they could control each and every single day. See, in the golf business, I can't control the weather. I'm going to get rainouts. I'm going to have rainouts on weekends. I'm going to have, cold, wet, windy days. It's just going to happen. There's nothing I can do about the weather, okay? I can't manage if it's hot. I can't manage if it's cold. I can't manage if it's wet. I can't manage if it's dry. But the one thing I can manage is I can manage one specific number that every single time a golfer walked in the door, we had a very simple mantra of one more purchase, okay? So what we did was we took what's known as the average revenue per round, and we increased that dramatically. So we increased the lifetime value of a customer, okay? So before, and I don't remember the numbers exactly, but if before the average revenue per round was $28, what we did is we drove it to 42. So we had the same number of people coming in, but what we did is we made more money per person every time that they came in. Well, it's the same thing in your practice. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions. So I've got my green board here. It's green today. Okay, whoops. So here we go. How many patients do you see in a day? Okay, so that's the first question I want you to answer. How many patients do you see in a day? Okay, so how many patients do you see in a day? Let's say that number, the average number for a lot of practices, that number is right around, it's anywhere between 10 to 20. Okay, but I want that number to be specific. I want you to track how many patients you see each and every single day. Okay, don't give me a range of this, but let's say, on Monday I saw 12, on Tuesday I saw 14, on Wednesday I saw 10, and at the end of the week you're going to have an average. Okay, so don't say between 10 to 20. You want to get a specific average number. Okay, then how much do you make per visit? If you're making, let's say, let's make the math easy, $100, and let's say on average you see 10 patients a day, and you make $100, that's $1,000 per day times 5 is $5,000 a week. Okay, pretty simple. Now, here's the third question I'm going to ask you. How much do you need for expenses? Okay, now, how much do you need for expenses? Okay, this number right here. This includes your salary. Okay, this isn't that number where we pull it out and we say, oh, okay, I'm not gonna pay myself. That's silly. That's the stupidest thing in the world. Okay, sorry, I don't mean to be so, well, the hell with it. So I'm being a little bold. Okay, but if you're paying your receptionist and you're not paying you, we got some problems. Okay, the average practice that I talk to, it costs them, let's say, $35,000. Well, let's make it simple. Let's say it costs you $40,000 a month to run the practice. Now, if you're open 5 days a week, that's 20 days in a month. If I divide this by 20, this gives me, I need to make at least $2,000 per day in order for me to make. Okay, so you got to look at this as a daily nut. You've got to make a number each and every single day. Okay, so how are we going to do this? You can do it one of two ways. You can see more patients, okay, which is always a challenge because there's, one day you may do 22, the next day you may do 14, okay, and what you're doing is you're busier and busier. But the other thing that I like to do is keep the same number of patients, assuming we have a decent patient flow, and let's increase how much money you make per visit. Okay, so if you are not making at least $200+ per visit in reimbursement, actually physically being paid to you, not contracted, but what is actually physically being paid to you, then you are losing your shirt. And I don't need to tell you that. Okay, so you have to know these numbers. How many patients per day? Not a range, but how many patients per day? We see 12 patients per day on average, okay? So you're gonna track how many patients do you have each and every single day. And the second number you're gonna track is how much do you make per patient, okay? Those two numbers, keeping focused on those two numbers, however that goes, these two numbers, anyway, keeping focused on those numbers each and every single day is going to be key for your success. Now, if you are not getting these kind of numbers, what do you do? What you do is that you talk to our team about doing what we call a strategic coding optimization audit. It's called the SCO. And all I want you to do is type down below or message directly to me, SCO. That's SAM, Strategic Coding Optimization Audit. Okay. By doing this audit usually within 3 to 4 days, we can tell you how much you are leaving on the table at any given time. And by a few simple modifications, I can show you how to take those reimbursement rates from, say, under $100 to up over $200 and begin that almost immediately. Okay, so this is the simplest and fastest way for you to grow your insurance-based practice. Now, if you are cash-based, it's exactly the same thing. And in that case, which I'll talk about in another video, you need to improve your ability to close more patients into cash deals. All right, so I got to run. So I hope you enjoy this, and I look forward to hearing from you. Type SCO in the messages or comments below, and I'll set up a good time to talk.